So, you might think you're looking at some kind of scene from a wild sci fi movie. But what if I told you that according to some economists, this is the world we are already living in? Yeah, it's called technofeudalism, and it all starts with a few pretty simple and kinda unsettling questions.
Okay, let's start with a puzzle. Remember when Elon Musk dropped $44 billion on Twitter? Everyone in the news was calling it a crazy vanity project, just an expensive toy for a guy who has everything. But what if it wasn't? What if spending that kind of cash on a social media site made perfect, cold-blooded economic sense? Just hang on to that thought.
And here's another piece of that puzzle for you. You see that shiny new car in your driveway? The one that's basically an iPad on wheels? Well, it knows your favorite songs, it probably hears your conversations, it definitely knows where you go. Is that just a cool feature, or is there something else going on there?
Which brings us to the big one, the really crucial point, and this one's aimed right at you. Every single time you post something, scroll through a feed, click a link, or even just browse online, who are you really working for? And maybe more importantly, why aren't you getting a paycheck for it?
Well, the answer to all of this, at least according to economist Yanis Varoufakis, is that we've kind of quietly slipped into a brand new economic age. This isn't your grandfather's capitalism anymore. Welcome, my friends, to technofeudalism. And yeah, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like, just with a way better user interface.
So what the heck is this thing? Well, in this new world order, power doesn't come from owning factories or farmland anymore. Nuh-uh. The real power, the real money, is in owning the digital platforms, the cloud capital. We're talking Amazon, Google, Facebook. These aren't just websites. They are massive systems designed to shape what we do, and their owners get to collect a new kind of tax, a cloud rent, from pretty much everybody else.
Let's just break that down real quick. In old school feudalism, right, power was all about land. The more acres you owned, the more powerful you were. Simple. Then along came capitalism, where owning the means of production, the factories, the machines, that was the key to everything. But now, we're in the age of techno-feudalism, where the ultimate source of power is owning these digital kingdoms, this cloud capital, where we all spend our time.
Okay, so if a handful of tech billionaires are the new kings and lords, what does that make the rest of us? Well, I have good news. Congratulations, you've been promoted to Cloud Surf. And the best part? It's an unpaid position you've been working your tail off at for years without even knowing it.
And look, this isn't just some clever nickname. As Varoufakis points out, every photo you post, every video you share, that is an act of labor. You are literally building the value of these digital kingdoms post by post, click by click, without ever seeing a single dime.
Just let that sink in for a second. The actual computer code for Facebook isn't what makes it so valuable. Its value comes from the billions of us who use it, who feed it our data, and who create all the content for it, for free. We are the asset. We are the unpaid workforce that makes these digital lords their billions.
All right, so if we're all out here working for free, building these gigantic digital empires, where does all that value, all that money actually end up? Well, it flows to a very, very small club of companies. You might have heard of them. They call them the Magnificent Seven.
And here is where it gets absolutely bananas. Take a look at a traditional company, like a car maker. On average, about 85% of their revenue goes back to paying their workers. Actual human beings. Now look at big tech. How much do they pay out to labor, to the people creating the value? 1%. All that value we create, and almost none of it ever comes back to us.
So how on earth did these digital kingdoms get built so fast? I mean, where did all the money come from? It came from this number right here. $35 trillion. That's the almost unimaginable amount of cash that central banks just pumped into the financial system after the 2008 crisis. And this shows you exactly where all that money went. It was basically free cash for financiers and big corporations. Now, the idea was for them to invest it, build factories, create jobs. But did that happen? Nope. Most of it was used to buy back their own stock, which just juiced up their share prices and their executive bonuses. The only ones who really used that money to build something new were big tech. They took that cheap cash and built the digital kingdoms we're all living in right now. And here's why this matters to you, even if you're not on social media, even if you still have an old Nokia flip phone. This whole system, where an estimated 35% of the entire economy's value gets siphoned off as cloud rent by just a few companies, well, it has very real-world effects. It crushes overall demand, which forces central banks to print even more money to keep things going, and that creates the inflation and the cost of living crisis that is hitting every single one of us in the wallet.
Which brings us right back to where we started, Elon Musk and Twitter. Once you start seeing the world through this techno-feudalism lens, that purchase stops looking like some crazy midlife crisis and starts looking like a brilliant strategic invasion. It was a digital land grab.
To really get what Musk was thinking, just compare a traditional car company like Volkswagen with Tesla. VW, they sell you a car, end of story. Tesla sells you an iPad on wheels that is constantly gathering data, generating a quarter of its revenue just from selling what it knows about you. And, oh yeah, if the lord of the digital fiefdom is displeased, he can literally push a button and your car won't start. Good luck with that.
So here's the crucial point. Musk was a maker of things. Cars, rockets, super impressive for sure, but very terrestrial, very old school in this new economy. He wasn't a cloud lord. He didn't own a digital kingdom where millions of serfs toiled away for free. Twitter, now X, was his cheapest and fastest ticket to buy one.
Now, this whole transformation isn't just messing with our economy. It's completely reshaping global politics. It's fueling a new kind of Cold War. But this time, the fight isn't about capitalism versus communism, or who has what territory on a map. No, this one is all about who controls the cloud.
See, when you look at all the tension between the US and China, the real fight isn't just about Taiwan or trade tariffs. Underneath it all, at its very core, it's a desperate battle for dominance over the world's digital infrastructure. Why? Because right now there are only two places on the entire planet that have this kind of cloud capital at scale: Silicon Valley and China.
For the past 50 years, American global power has been propped up by one single pillar: the fact that the US dollar is the world's reserve currency. The whole global financial system runs on dollars, and that allows the US to run huge deficits and basically maintain its power.
But here's the threat. While the West is still kind of stuck with these clunky, expensive banking systems from the 20th century, China has leaped light years ahead. They've built a state-backed digital payment system that's practically free for its citizens. They're basically building a whole new set of financial rails for the 21st century. And this slide right here, this is Washington's ultimate nightmare. The fear is that the rest of the world gets tired of the dollar's dominance and just starts to shift over to China's faster, cheaper digital system. If that happens, that pillar of American power doesn't just wobble, it crumbles. That is what is truly at stake in this new Cold War. Because you better believe it, the future of money is digital. The entire global financial system is being rebuilt from the ground up as we speak. So the only question is, whose system is going to win? Who's going to be in control? So, from the apps on your phone all the way up to the balance of global power, this new system is changing absolutely everything. You're not just a citizen of a country anymore, you're also a serf in a digital kingdom. And the lords of these new realms are battling for control. The only question that really matters now is, who gets to wear the crown?